Welcome to Unshakable with Human Design, the show dedicated to helping entrepreneurs use human design to shift from hustle to flow without sacrificing results. Come here to become an unshakable human and build an unshakable business according to your human design. I'm your host, Nicole. Hello and welcome to Unshakable with Human Design. I'm your host, Nicole, and we are here with a little shorty episode for you on this Monday morning. We're going to be talking about intuition and where intuition lives in the human design chart. And I'm going to give you 5 aspects that you can kind of, if you have them in your chart, it might be why being intuitive maybe resonates with you, or you might feel like you have these connections and they are there for you. It's not to say that these are the only ones. These are just 5 of like the top ones that I see with people who are intuitive healers and things like that, where they come to me and when I look at their chart, I'm like, oh, these are some consistencies that I see there, and I'll tell you why. Before we get started, I want to remind everybody to go to nicoleleno.me/podcast links. That's where you can get links to our free guides. We have a free float activity guide, which is a productivity guide by Human Design, teaching you how to be more productive while remaining in flow. So while you like your life, how can you get more done? How can you do that in a way that feels good to you and to those around you and gets you attracting more? We also have a deconditioning guide, which is kind of the building blocks, the whole foundation of human design, and getting it to really work for you is you need to decondition the old ways. It's great to learn new stuff, but if you're carrying all of the old stuff into it, it's not going to give you the bang for your buck that you're looking for. If it's not working for you, it's probably because you're not doing the deconditioning work. So that free guide is a great way to get started with diving into the deeper aspects of human design and your specific human design. We break it down for you by center, and so you can get very detailed, lay it over with your chart and start to use it, because that's what we're all about here. We're all about using human design, not just learning about it, not just taking in information, because that doesn't do anything for us. The only way that we get results is if we are actually using this information and experimenting with it. So you can't mess it up, people. You're already conditioned. You are already in the state that you want to change. So you got nothing to lose by going and trying this stuff out and seeing how it works for you. I have yet to meet somebody who has truly, actually gone into the human design experiment and really worked with it and not gotten tremendous results, not really seen how this is actually playing out in their life and how they can live a much happier, easier life by living by these rather than against them. So anyway, that is my spiel. nicoleleno.me/podcast links has all the links to everything that we're ever doing. So just go bookmark that page, make sure that you have that, check it periodically and see if we're offering something new. It might be a new thing that dropped and you missed an episode. And if you're linking at that page regularly, you'll stay up to date with everything that we're doing. And get on our email list, because then you'll really stay in the know. And you can do that by downloading any of those guides. That'll put you on our list. You can opt in for the list and then stay up to date on everything that we're ever doing. Which, why wouldn't you want to do that? We only do awesome stuff. I don't waste anybody's time. So, and I'm not going to waste any more time in this episode telling you about anything other than what we're going to talk about, which is the intuition, where it lives in the chart, and why you might resonate with being intuitive if you have any of these. So first of all, I want to say, like I said, these aren't going to be the only things. It's not like, oh, and then nothing else means that you're intuitive. I will put an overarching theme on this and say that everywhere you are open in the chart, you are more intuitive. Everywhere, a center, a gate, a channel, everywhere you are open, you are going to be more receptive. You are going to be more intuitive naturally, provided you are not filling that space with a bunch of junk, which is what deconditioning does, is it clears out all of the junk so that you can be clear and you can actually feel in a healthy way and receive what you are meant to receive. Okay, so all openness, I'm going to call out some key ones, but all openness means that you are intuitive in that way. You're tuning into other people in that way. As long as you're clean in that energy, as long as the space is clean, then you can feel other people's stuff. You can be intuitive in those areas. But if you are trying to push out of those areas, you're not really intuiting anything. You're trying to be something you're pushing out. If you go to a healer, they don't sit down and start talking. You see them, they get really quiet. They tune in, they connect to the energy, and they get very clear about what they're receiving. You cannot do that if you are pushing out from all of those places. And it's not to say that you can't be intuitive in the areas you're defined. You're just going to be super sensitive in the areas where you're open. So let's talk about it. Let's break down the 5. The first one, if you have an open head center. The open head center is pressure. It's the center of inspiration. So you're literally picking up on, and number 1 and number 2 are closely related. You don't have to have both of them. If you have both of them open, then you're going to experience this obviously even more so. But you are tuning into other people's thoughts. You are tuning in if you're clear in that space. So if you're not busy trying to figure it all out, if you're not busy consuming and consuming and consuming and consuming, if you're not trying to make sure that you are so certain and questioning everything that you are thinking and everything that you want, and if you are just clear and still in that space, then you can tune into the things that other people are thinking, because other people are transmitting. And where we're open, we are receiving those transmissions. So, and that can be a sense of intuition about what other people are thinking, what is inspiring to others. Now, the head center, if we're speaking specifically about the head center, I kind of lumped these two together, but if we're speaking about the head center, that is where, it doesn't even sit in the head, it sits above the head. The head center sits like right above the top of your head. So it's not really even connected to our physical body. It's above it. It's like part of the aura. It's part of the energetic connection. It is that top. It is the divine connection. So if you're clear in that space and you're not trying to fill it all the time with stuff, with more information, then you might find yourself feeling very connected to a divine message, because you are a receiver in that aspect. You do have the ability to do that, but normally we're so busy trying to fill the space that we don't create the space to receive that transmission. Okay? So open head, number 1. Number 2, open ajna. These are in no particular order, by the way. But I do notice that a lot of people who come to me who are healers, who are intuitives, where they hear, the divine, they can tune into other people's energy. They have an open head, sometimes an open ajna as well. You'll see the two of those together. The third one is a defined spleen. Now, this is going to be connection to your intuition. The defined spleen is consistent access to your intuitive guidance, the things that are healthy for you, the things that are safe for you, that direction that you should go in. I have a defined spleen, so it can actually be confusing sometimes because I get these intuitive hits, but I have to balance it with the fact that I move on sacral, and then I wait for my emotional wave. So that spontaneous voice of my intuition with the defined spleen, which is always speaking, when there's something to be spoken, it's talking to me all the time. And to be able to tune into that and to be able to recognize that voice as something other than, like, sometimes we think it's ourselves, sometimes we think it's our mind, but it's actually, it's a deeper part of us. It's our intuition speaking to us. And if you have that connection, if you have that center defined, you're going to have a consistent access to that. Now, if you have it undefined, it doesn't mean that you don't have it. It's just not going to be as repetitive. It's not going to be happening as often as it's happening for the people who have it defined. Now, the fourth one is an open solar plexus. So having an open solar plexus is really, you're going to feel all the emotions of all the things. You're an empath. So this is the center of, like, spiritual intuition. And, really tuning into the energy of others comes from that open solar plexus. Now, again, it doesn't mean that you're not, if you have it defined. I consider myself intuitive. I have a defined solar plexus. But if you're open here, you're going to be very sensitive. Pretty much everyone I have met that classifies themselves or refers to themselves and identifies as a highly sensitive person, which is now like an actual term, an HSP, a highly sensitive person, has an open solar plexus, in my experience. Everybody I have met that calls themselves that is open in the solar plexus, and lots of them are completely open and have no defined gates in that center. And it's because they are tuning into the emotions of others. They are tuning into the energetic quality of the people around them on that deeply emotional level. And the emotions, that's ultimately our energy. That's like what we put out, whether you're defined or undefined, like that's what people are feeling. And 50% of the world is emotionally defined. So if you're open in the emotional center, you're picking up about 50% of the world's transmission of that whenever you're around them. And you feel things deeply, and that can be a very deep connection to intuition. If you are not so rocked by it that it like throws you off your game because you're so uncomfortable by other people's emotions. If you are, then you can't be intuitive about it. You're kind of ruled by it, and you're rocked by it. But if you're able to recognize that and say, I know that this isn't mine. I feel it. I know it's there. I can sit with it. And I can ultimately understand things about the people who are around me that they might not even know. Like I feel it. And I get words that describe the feelings that those people have, where they look at you and when you say it, they're like, how did you know exactly what I was feeling? That's intuition. That's how intuition works, picking up energetically on the things and being able to potentially put words and articulate them, put words to them and articulate those feelings, the energy that you're receiving. That's what happens when you become when you build a relationship with that intuitive part of you rather than trying to get away from it or rather than trying to fix it. Okay? Now the last one are the arrows. So the arrows, the last thing that makes that's kind of like a big sign that you have intuition, that you might resonate with intuition and being an intuitive, are right arrows. So the arrows, the right arrows, everybody has 4 arrows on the sides of their head in their chart. If you run an advanced chart, which you can do on our site, go to nicoleleno.me/chart, or you can go to that podcast links page that I mentioned at the beginning of the show, because there's a link to that on there as well. If you run a chart on our page, we give you those arrows. Not every site does. They don't all give it to you for free, but we give them to you there. So if you have a chart and you don't see arrows, go over to our site and run your chart, and you'll be able to see the arrows there, and you'll understand what I'm talking about. Now, the arrows are variables, and I did a separate episode on the arrows. You can go back and listen to it and hear some more in-depth information about what they are. But basically, the right arrows are, you can think about it like openness. You can think about it like feminine energy. And then the left arrows are more masculine energy. They're more focused, more driven, more strategic, more active. Now, when they're pointing to the right, it's the laid back energy of receiving. So people who are right facing in, I would say, 3 or more, if you have 3 right facing arrows, you are more receiving than you are transmitting, then you are active, then you are being the center of things. And it's a different game. And when you start, and this is intuition, this is also about receiving. It's the game of receiving. And when you have more right facing arrows than you have left, then you are more in tune with deeper frequencies of what's going on around you. You're not picking up just on the words or on the attitudes or on the things, like you just know what's going on a deeper energetic level. You get things and people can get them from you. Your insights will be deep. There's depth to these right arrows. And those right arrows can make you, again, when you aren't so busy trying to be focused, trying to be driven, trying to be active, trying to be seen, trying to be focused, when you aren't chasing that way of being, and you allow it, you will just know things. And this is how learning to work with your nature rather than against it holds great gifts. And most of us, we're not, like, society doesn't really reward us necessarily for being this way. It does, but we don't think it will. We're afraid because we're so taught to be going and driven and focused. Like, those are such exalted traits in our society. But it's sacrificing your intuition. It's sacrificing all the things that you know. You do know them. You know them. You just don't even know they're there. It's all part of your intuition. Someone will ask you a question, you'll answer it, and you'll be like, where did that come from? It came from this deeper well that you are, depending on which arrows you have. But if you have 3 facing right, then you are more intuitive than you are transmitting necessarily. Okay? Slightly different language. I don't know if that's perfect language there, but you're going to have a more intuitive connection with 3 right facing arrows. It's just going to be something. And if you have 4, forget about it. You'll be super intuitive. You're just going to know stuff about where you are, about who you're with. And when you can tune into that and harness it, it's very, very powerful. And people will be drawn to you. And that's what we're talking about that energetic game. So I hope you found this helpful. I'd love to know what aspects of this chart, of the chart do you have that we mentioned in here? What do you feel makes you intuitive? Do you resonate with being an intuitive? What do you see come out in your world? I'd love to know, what is it in your world that you experience that you're like, I deeply resonate with being an intuitive? And then did any of these elements come up in your chart, and did any of it resonate with you? And like I said, remember, you can be intuitive. We're all intuitive. We're all picking up on things. It's just, what are we picking up on and how? And these were just some that I have seen recently that have been I've been responding to, and I wanted to share them here. I see it very consistently with people who have this, that these different ways of intuition show up with people who have these particular traits. So I'd love to hear from you. Please, if you loved this episode, please leave a review on iTunes, subscribe to the show, and take a little screenshot of the episode. Tell me why you loved it and tag me and put it in your Instagram stories so that we can get the word out about this show. And we have a goal of becoming like one of the top human design podcasts out there. So help us reach them by telling your friends, by subscribing to the show, by leaving a review. All of this helps us to get the word out and helps us to boost the rank of this show and get it heard by more people. So I hope that you do that. I hope that you get involved with us. If you're looking to dive into your human design more, you can book a human design reading with me. Go over to that NicoleLano.me/podcast links page, and you can book a reading with me there. Or if you are looking to go very deep into your human design, building your business around it and diving deep into your human design, you can join us inside the Unshakable Entrepreneur Program. We have a 6-month and a 12-month version of the program. You're welcome to join any of them. We would love to have you on the journey with us. It is a beautiful, beautiful group. If you're interested in that, please reach out to me so that I can speak to you about when we will be opening doors and when we can get you in. Have a wonderful rest of your day, everybody. Go out there and be unshakable. I'll see you in the next one. If you love this episode and you're a fan of the show, please show us the love on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you're listening to the show, and leave us a review. And if you'd like to connect with other entrepreneurs on their human design journey, join our free Facebook community, Human Design for Entrepreneurs. Go to NicoleLano.me/podcast links to join the group, book a human design reading with me, or access our free human design resources. We'll see you there.